The Azure Grand Hotel in Neo-Viridian City stood as a colossal monolith of polished glass and ambition, its towering silhouette reflecting the boundless aspirations of the tech world. Its very architecture spoke of progress, of reaching for the heavens. Within its gleaming conference wing, the Global Innovation Summit, a global stage for visionaries, titans of industry, and the architects of tomorrow, pulsed with an almost electric anticipation. The atrium, a vast expanse of polished granite floors and soaring ceilings adorned with quartz chandeliers, was a symphony of murmured deals, the delicate clinking of coffee cups, and the soft rustle of bespoke suits and designer dresses. The air hummed with the promise of groundbreaking ideas and revolutionary partnerships, a palpable sense of being at the cutting edge of human ingenuity. For Dr. Aaliyah Mendez, the morning had begun long before dawn. In her meticulously organized home, she had moved with a quiet focus, preparing not just for a keynote, but for a moment that held profound significance for her, both professionally and as a symbol for countless others. Her attire, a sharp, emerald green power suit, was a blend of professional authority and cultural resonance, chosen to project both her brilliance and her identity. The journey through Neo-Viridian City, still waking, gave way to the grand spectacle of the hotel, its immense scale growing larger with every passing block. As her car pulled up to the main entrance, she observed the smooth, almost invisible process for other VIPs, the immediate deference shown to a certain demographic by the white-gloved valets and attentive bellhops. She registered the slightly less effusive, though still polite, welcome she received before even stepping foot inside, a subtle ripple in the otherwise seamless flow. At precisely 9:40 a.m., she arrived at the opulent VIP check-in. The line moved with effortless efficiency for the well-heeled guests ahead of her. Then it was her turn. Mr. Sterling, the hotel manager, a man whose permanent smile seemed painted on, greeted her. "Dr. Mendez, so glad you're here. We are truly honored to host such a distinguished figure at our esteemed summit." His words were cordial, almost effusive, but his eyes, when they scanned her name on the digital display, tightened almost imperceptibly. The smile, though still present, seemed to freeze, a jarring contradiction to the unsettling tension that suddenly permeated the air around them. "There's just a slight, operational adjustment," he began, his voice losing its initial warmth, tinged with a subtly condescending dismissiveness he likely didn't even notice. He gestured vaguely, then offered, "Your Zenith suite has been, shall we say, unexpectedly reallocated due to unforeseen circumstances. We've prepared a perfectly lovely, though somewhat smaller, room for you on the third floor, just temporary, of course. We're sure you'll find it more than adequate for your needs." His tone implied a mere suggestion, but his rigid posture radiated an unmistakable finality. Aaliyah's composure, a mask honed over years of navigating subtle slights and overt obstacles, remained flawless. But internally, a familiar, icy wave of frustration and profound weariness washed over her. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a well-worn script, a familiar dance of being overlooked, undervalued, or deemed not quite fitting, despite her qualifications. It was the quiet, insidious hum of systemic racism, designed to make her question her own belonging in spaces she had earned, built, and, in many cases, helped to define. The indignity of it gnawed at her, a bitter taste. She, Dr. Aaliyah Mendez, at the absolute pinnacle of her field, was being shunted aside as if her presence was a mere inconvenience, an afterthought. She pictured the smaller room, a cramped, airless space she knew would reek faintly of harsh cleaning chemicals, with a view of a grimy alleyway, utterly unsuitable for the complex technical setup her team required. Symbolically, it was a direct degradation of her status, a deliberate attempt to diminish her. "Mr. Sterling," Aaliyah stated, her voice calm but firm, every word a deliberate act of resistance against the invisible current trying to pull her back. "My reservation for the Zenith Suite was confirmed months ago, specifically designated for my keynote preparation, and it is a contractual obligation. It is not merely a room. It is a critical space for my team's technical logistics and my final presentation rehearsal. I require that specific suite, and I will not be moving." The manager's practiced smile finally fractured, replaced by a strained look of thinly veiled annoyance, bordering on patronizing irritation. He leaned in conspiratorially, his voice dropping to a condescending murmur, as if she were a child failing to grasp a simple concept. "Look, doctor," he began, his tone a mix of weary patience and thinly veiled threat. "I'm afraid you're causing a bit of a disruption. We have strict operational procedures. We had an unforeseen request from Mr. Beaumont, a long-standing patron and significant investor in this very hotel, a pillar of the community, you understand, with decades of association. His needs, quite frankly, simply outweighed your initial booking. These things happen. Perhaps there's been a simple misunderstanding on your part regarding the flexibility of our reservations." He gestured vaguely towards the bustling lobby, implying she was creating an unnecessary scene. Across the atrium, Aaliyah caught a fleeting glimpse of Mr. Beaumont, a portly man with a self-satisfied grin and an air of inherited privilege, being ushered by another staff member directly into the Zenith suite. He glanced over, and a brief, arrogant smirk flickered across his lips, solidifying the personal nature of the affront and the implicit racial bias. The lobby's low hum intensified, shifting from polite indifference to uneasy awareness, heads turned, eyes watching the quiet drama unfold. A young black professional standing nearby watched with knowing, empathetic eyes. An older white attendee looked visibly uncomfortable, shifting his weight. Security guards subtly stiffened, signaling a potential intervention. The hush grew heavier. Just then, Madame Dubois, a prominent diversity consultant often seen on social media espousing performative allyship, glided over, her expression a mask of practiced, professional concern. "Oh, Dr. Mendez, darling, I truly understand your frustration. It's simply dreadful, but perhaps taking the high road here is best. We wouldn't want to cause a scene that might, well, detract from the summit's overall message of unity and progress, would we? We must think about the optics, darling." Aaliyah's piercing eyes met Madame Dubois', a silent, pointed question passing between them, exposing the hollow core of her rhetoric. Whose high road are we truly talking about when it always means conceding our space, our dignity, our very right to exist without question? Aaliyah simply offered a tight, knowing smile, turning back to Mr. Sterling, her resolve unyielding. "I will not be moved," she repeated, her voice steady. Suddenly, the polished granite floors vibrated as a sleek obsidian-colored Tesla, Moon, Doe S, pulled up silently outside the hotel's grand entrance, its presence commanding immediate and absolute attention. A profound hush fell over the lobby, a collective intake of breath that seemed to suspend time. Security personnel subtly stiffened, their gazes drawn to the arriving vehicle. Kalen Vance, CEO of Cosmos Innovations, a man whose quiet power was known to shift entire markets and redefine industries with a single decision, stepped out. He moved with a deliberate grace, his aura one of absolute calm, yet undeniable authority. He walked directly to Aaliyah, his eyes locked on her, a silent conversation passing between them that instantly reaffirmed their bond and communicated unwavering support. He then turned his unwavering gaze to Mr. Sterling, whose face had already begun to drain of color, recognizing the formidable figure approaching. Colin took Aaliyah's hand, his touch a powerful gesture of solidarity, then slowly, deliberately, released it. He turned his full attention to Mr. Sterling, his voice, though quiet, resonated with an undeniable weight that echoed through the suddenly hushed lobby, dropping like a hammer. He uttered 3 simple, earth-shattering words. "She owns this." Mr. Sterling's face crumpled, his permanent smile fracturing completely. A collective gasp rippled through the lobby, followed by stunned silence. Kalen then leaned in slightly, his voice gaining a searing intensity that belied its low volume, his gaze unwavering as he delivered the full truth. "My wife, Dr. Aaliyah Mendez, holds a 75% controlling stake in Azure Grand Holdings, the parent company of this very hotel." "Now, Mr. Sterling," he paused, allowing the crushing weight of the revelation to sink in. "Did you just delete her name from the Zenith suite? A contractual obligation? Because of the color of her skin?" The accusation hung in the air, raw and undeniable, a shocking twist that left the onlookers dazed and wowed, forcing them to confront the casual racism they had just witnessed, and perhaps the uncomfortable reality of their own complicity in a system that allowed such slights. Mr. Sterling stammered, his body visibly shaking, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He became utterly incoherent, desperately trying to salvage his position, but it was too late. He collapsed into a nearby chair, his face a mask of utter humiliation and fear, a public spectacle of disgrace. Within moments, a phalanx of hotel executives, alerted by the commotion, materialized as if from thin air, their faces a mixture of horror, deference, and frantic damage control. Without another word, Mr. Sterling was suspended, his dismissal swift, public, and absolute. Moments later, Dr. Nia Reynolds, a sharp, composed black woman with an impeccable record in hospitality management and a reputation for integrity that preceded her, was formally introduced as the interim head of hotel operations. A direct and resounding answer to Kalen's exposé, a new beacon of genuine representation. Madame Dubois, noticing the seismic shift in the room's power dynamics, had already vanished, her performative allyship melting away in the face of true accountability. Later, now rightfully seated in the opulent Mendez suite, renamed by a hastily enacted corporate decree just hours before, Dr. Aaliyah Mendez prepared for her keynote. She took a moment, gazing out at the sprawling Neo-Viridian city skyline, its spires piercing the clear blue sky, processing the profound shift that had occurred. Exhaustion mingled with a fierce sense of triumph. The name on the door, the Mendez suite, was more than just a title. It was a testament to her worth, reclaimed, a silent victory. Colin stood quietly by her side, a silent pillar of strength, his presence a calming anchor in the storm of the morning's events. Then, with renewed resolve, Aaliyah walked onto the summit stage, not merely to speak, but to declare a new truth. Her speech wasn't solely about the future of artificial intelligence or technological innovation. It was a raw, profound dissection of the systemic biases she had just faced. A microcosm of the larger struggles for racial justice that Black professionals navigate daily in countless boardrooms, labs, and creative spaces. This morning, she began, her voice resonating with a quiet, burning fire through the grand hall. I was almost denied my rightful place, not because of a technical error, but because of an invisible barrier, a legacy of assumption that still attempts to define where some of us belong. She pivoted, her tone academic but deeply personal, to how her experience exemplified the invisible ceilings, the ghosts in the machine, the algorithms of exclusion that plague Black professionals. She spoke of the constant emotional labor, the exhausting pressure to be twice as good, the insidious nature of imposter syndrome that is often imposed from the outside, rather than being an internal flaw. She discussed the psychological impact of having to constantly prove one's validity and belonging. She called for genuine allyship, not performative acts, but active dismantling of old systems. Introducing Dr. Nia Reynolds, who had taken over the hotel's operations, Aaliyah presented a living, breathing example of what change looks like when genuine commitment is present. We cannot build a truly innovative future, she concluded, her gaze sweeping across the rapt audience, if we do not actively dismantle the systemic racism that still attempts to deny access, erase names, and silence voices. Our innovation must extend to our humanity. The audience, initially stunned into silence by her candidness and the directness of her message, rose to their feet in a thunderous, prolonged standing ovation, not out of polite applause, but from a profound acknowledgement, a collective aha moment, signifying a deeper understanding and a renewed, palpable commitment to real change. Many were visibly moved, some wiping tears as her powerful words washed over them, a true testament to her impact. Days later, the Mendez suite stood as a permanent symbol of dignity, resilience, and the ongoing fight against systemic injustice, a constant reminder etched into the very fabric of the hotel's new identity. It was not just a room, it was a historical marker, a beacon of triumphant inclusion, a statement that the rightful place would always be reclaimed. Aaliyah stood by the suite's expansive window, gazing out at the sprawling Neo-Viridian city skyline, its spires catching the late afternoon sun, a framed plaque on the wall solidifying her legacy. Kalen stood beside her, a quiet strength, their hands intertwined, a testament to a partnership built on integrity and a shared purpose that transcended personal wealth. They shared a look that spoke volumes: understanding, solidarity, the quiet strength of their partnership, and the recognition that this was one battle won in an ongoing war for equity. Downstairs, Dr. Nia Reynolds, now firmly establishing a new era of transparent and genuinely inclusive leadership within Azure Grant Holdings, moved through the hotel, implementing new policies, mentoring diverse talent, and embodying the change. The narrative of exclusion had shifted irrevocably. What systems do we allow to diminish brilliance? What names do we fail to champion? It only takes one stand, one truth spoken, and sometimes 3 powerful words to rewrite the rules of inclusion for all. It is a continuous, often unseen effort, but one that demands courage and commitment from us all. Share your own moments of confronting bias and reclaiming your space in the comments below. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to catch our next tale of courage and the ongoing fight for equity.